So you've got this great idea. You've put it in action. You've written it down. You've moved it. You've measured it. And all of a sudden, you know what happens, right? Kaboom. And it's not fun. First thing I always tell people to do is breathe, because all negative things in time will pass. Last year, as I talked about, I was on Denali. It was very frustrating because it's the most majestic, beautiful place that you've ever seen. I went up there, and each person had to carry 126 pounds between the back, our packs, and the sleds that were dragging up the mountain. We got up to 14,200 feet, and every night it was minus 25 in our tent. It was incredible. What made things worse is on top of the mountain, there was a lenticular cloud, like the one you see in The Wizard of Oz, where the Wicked Witch is spinning around and around and around. And it was minus 60, and it stayed that way for 6 days. And on top of that, there was a superstorm that was coming that was going to take it down to minus 82. I took the screenshot, so I have the picture and the proof. But it was frustrating because it took so much to put ourselves in that position to actually make that journey. And so what I have to do now is I have to get back up this May and go back and do it. Mother Nature won. The same thing happens in business, right? Where you're going out there and you're trying to penetrate market with new products and whatnot, and then something happens, and what are you going to do? And I think with each setback, you just have to be flexible enough to pick a new path when these things are going to happen. New paths always work out, even if the outcomes are a little bit different from what you originally imagined. We talked about the podcast that I do, Finding Your Summit, People Overcoming Adversity. So much of when things hit, it's about perspective. Kyle Menard. I'm sitting on a rock at 21,000 feet in Argentina, Aconcagua. And I'm just famished. This was summit day. My energy was low. And all of a sudden, I looked down the mountain, and there's this person that was crawling. I wasn't sure what it was until he got right to my knees. And he looks up, and he was like, "Hey, dude." And it was awesome. And this guy literally has no arms or legs. Think about that. And he summited. 6 people on our rope team and our expedition team did not make it. And this guy, no arms, no legs, made it all the way to the top. And I ended up talking to him again on the other side of the mountain when he had scaled. The next guy was down at USC recently. He lost his vision, his sight, when he was 12 years old. He plays on the USC football team. He's a long snapper. He's the first blind guy at D1 level football game that's ever played. He's got a great spirit about himself. The next gal just came on my podcast last week. I found her because I was watching America's Got Talent, and I was literally sitting there welling up watching this. She's deaf. It all happened when she was 18 years old. And she's this beautiful singer, incredible. She sings this song called Try. And Simon Cowell was so moved that he hit the golden buzzer. And all the confetti came down, and she made it all the way to the final. So she took 4th place. So if you ever want to hear a beautiful singer sing, and then to find out that she can't even hear herself, she feels emotion in her chest and her throat. And that's how she sings and listens. The last guy, Captain Charles Plum. He's the guy I went up and visited in San Ynez. He was the original Top Gun pilot, total badass. Okay, seriously. He flew 74 missions over Vietnam, doing his different runs, bombing runs that they were doing back then. On his 75th one, he was shot down out of the sky. As he's floating down to Earth, people are firing bullets at him. He lands in a rice paddy. They run over and they grab him. They beat him, shackle him, imprison him. Malnutrition for 6 years. He couldn't talk at all. Now he gets out of jail. The war's over. He's so excited. He runs down to pick up the first phone to call his wife. She divorces him. He didn't know that. This guy's a bright light, and this guy's overcome. So the whole point of anything and everything is that when you're going through adversity in business, in your personal life, just have a little perspective, because there's other people out there that have a lot worse than you do. So back to your action sheet that we talked about. When obstacles hit, when things get tough, how can you gain perspective? And the second part of that is how can you pivot when those things happen? That's the whole key. Is a business, things aren't going so well, how can you pivot?